Hi, my name is Mactics, and today I wanted to discuss a topic that I simply can't get out of my head. And before I get started, I just want to be 100% transparent and let you know what you're about to watch, because this is not a guide on what weapons to use, or what class you should play, or what aim trainers you should use, or what pregame rituals you should have. Although, videos on those topics will all certainly help when it comes to winning, and I definitely can recommend watching them. This video is my thoughts on what I believe to be a flawed system in Destiny's Trials of Osiris. A flawed system that, if changed, would result in an astronomically more enjoyable Trials experience for everyone. Not just the sweats, not just the streamers, and not just the good players. Everyone. And it would create an experience where anyone would be capable of going flawless. I want to start by saying this weekend is the absolute most fun I have ever had playing Trials, and I think that is due in no small part to the large player population of the game type this weekend. Longtime Trials players know that the first weekend after an expansion or a new season, or whatever you want to call it, is usually the highest the Trials population is at. As time goes on throughout the season, though, the player base for Trials shrinks and shrinks and shrinks until it is just a small pool of extremely talented players, a few daring average teams, and cheaters. So why does this happen? I am here today to tell you that one of the primary causes of this is card-based matchmaking. I believe strictly connection-based matchmaking for Trials of Osiris would create an environment where anyone, even that team of 0.5 kill-death ratios, could go flawless. So, why is card-based matchmaking so bad? Well, the theory behind it is actually good, and I personally quite enjoy the thematic of teams battling through the imaginary bracket of Trials, having to beat teams at every step that have triumphed over just as many opponents as they themselves have so far. And then that coveted flawless game, 2 teams having grinded through 6 teams each, both looking at the flawless chest knowing that only one squad will be able to open it. It is a fun and exciting story. But in practice, it is ludicrously unhealthy for the Trials game mode. As the Trials weekends go by and the player population slowly dips lower and lower each week, who do you think it is that is quitting the game mode? I promise it isn't the streamers and the ultra talented teams, and I sure as hell promise you it isn't the cheaters. No, it is the lower skilled players, even the average players, that just can't quite make it to the lighthouse, can't quite make it to 7 wins, 5 wins, or even 3 wins. And as those lower skilled teams leave the matchmaking pool, the average level of skill of the Trials population only increases. There is an inversely proportional relationship between average skill level in Trials and the population pool in Trials. As one decreases, the other increases. Card-based matchmaking only exacerbates this issue by typically matching you against a better team than the one you just played against for each subsequent game. Every team you play on Game 2 was good enough to defeat a team on Game 1, and every team you play on Game 3 was good enough to defeat a team on Game 2, who was good enough to defeat a team on Game 1. And this compounds quickly, as I'm sure you can tell. It creates an environment where eventually, as a team, you just aren't capable of winning anymore. You have an imaginary hard cap of games that you are able to win. For example, you might be good enough to beat all of the teams that can get to 3 wins on a reasonably consistent basis, but all of those other teams that are able to get to Game 4 along with you are almost always better than you and stop your run right there. And even on the rare occasion that you can win that Game 4, Game 5 will only be harder, and Game 6 harder after that. Additionally, those teams who are always getting beat on Game 3 are eventually going to say screw it and stop playing, which means that Game 3 just became a lot harder. And don't think for a single second that this doesn't trickle down. Once Game 3 gets harder across the board, the teams that were rarely winning that Game 3 aren't going to be able to compete with the newly raised skill level anymore, and they are going to quit. which means winning game 2 just got harder. And I hope you can see how this gets out of hand really quickly. With a strictly connection-based matchmaking system, every team has a chance to match up against a team that they are capable of defeating, because they aren't damned to just always play a better team as they progress until they get to the point where that team is just always better than them. It creates the opportunity for lower skilled teams to make it deeper into their cards than they ever have before. All they have to do is luck out to some degree and match a few teams in a row that they are capable of beating. Teams that might be on game 1, game 3, game 6, or whatever. It turns the prospect of going flawless into just having to be able to beat the next 7 teams you face instead of having to be the absolute best team in the imaginary Trials tournament bracket. And to those who say, well, dude, Trials is supposed to be hard. We shouldn't make it easier for the bad teams. They should just get better at the game. You do realize that it is that game design philosophy that will lead to all of them quitting the game type, right? The same philosophy which will lead to weekends where the player base of Trials is only the top 1% of PvP teams and cheaters. Is that really what you want? Does making the Lighthouse possible for lower skilled teams really take away from the game mode? Does it really take away from your accomplishments? The Trials matchmaking system is not healthy, and this has been proven time and time again by the rapid decline of the player population as players realize they can't progress further through the tournament bracket. The matchmaking system for Trials needs a change, and it needs it now. And with this change, I firmly believe that anyone would be able to go flawless.